What is up, Rapid Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. Fixing to tear the whole front end back off this car. Now, y'all might be like, holy cow, why'd you even put it together if you knew you were going to take it back apart? Well, mock-up. Need to make sure everything fits. Need to make sure all my oil lines, the front valence, we're going to kind of change a little things and how that fits up. And the timing of just getting the thing painted. So, it's painted now. Front clip's got to come back off. Though, the big reason, because this mess of an engine bay needs to not look like this. So, as easy as it is to line up fenders, bumpers, this whole front stuff, I want to make sure that we get a thorough paint job in this engine bay. So, fenders, valence, bumpers, everything come back off. Now, still got a few things. If you saw the last video, we got the engine out, transmission out. A couple issues with that we got to dial in. When we get up to the body shop this week, ready to spray this thing, and I'll probably have some of this apart during that. I got to pull the K-member, rear, re-speed, rack, and pinion stuff out and pull the column out temporarily. In addition to stripping the interior apart, I'm also going to be stripping the interior apart. In addition to stripping the engine bay apart, we're taking the interior apart. Now, the interior, I already did the back half of this with Rust-Oleum marine grade top coat, bright red. Now, it looks pretty good on camera, looks really good in person. This will have some sorts of carpet, floor mat, storage devices, seats, floor mats, etc. in here. So, but it will not have a full first gen interior. So it will not have all the trim going up. It will get a headliner, but aside from the headliner coming down, there won't be any interior trim. So that's why I'm using this stuff. I've got to yank the dash out in this video and effectively unwire the whole car. All of that is in preparation for, this is a Fuel Tech FT450. This is going to be the starting point for all of the data acquisition and running the car. Now, the FT450 is Fuel Tech's like base model, 4-ignition controller, run a 2-rotor engine ECU. We're going to get started with that. The cool part about the Fuel Tech is that as we progress and want to add more sensors, we can upgrade to the FT550 or the 600 and add that separate harness to then add more sensors because we need all the data down the road on this car. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this stuff apart, which you guys have already been seeing as I've been talking, fenders coming off, everything coming apart, and then we'll get started on ripping the interior out of this thing, which will be pretty sweet. So let's get cracking.
Show you the jab and then dig under. And dig it longer. So it just keeps it. That's the side.
It's the Mouse 2.0. Let me tell you what, I swear, every single RX7 I work on, at least these old first gens, mouse nests. Happy to have taken this apart. If you've never removed an RX7 dash, they're kind of tricky, but not really. You might think it's in your best interest to take the dash pad off the dash frame, but it's actually easier to take the frame out. 2 bolts here on each side. Over there, disconnect the column. There's usually a brace in the center, but this car didn't have it. Most likely because it just didn't get installed at some point in this car's life. Disconnect an assortment of wires, and most of your dash will come out. There's actually kind of like a sub-harness that rides on the dash itself. That will disconnect from the chassis, but I'll show you that here in a second. So, right here, once you have your cluster removed, that wiring stays in. This big harness right here is your radio heater control wiring harness. So you can disconnect this, the whole dash bit comes out as one big piece, take your fuse block off, mounts right here. Column disconnected. Easy peasy. Well, you guys are looking at probably 7 or 8 hours worth of cleaning and prep so far. Not even close to done. We're closer than we were, but we're not close to done. I've got the hole blown over here for the intake tube, so I can put my air filter out here. It's like probably 4.5 inches, so there should be plenty of size. It fits the pipe and a 4-inch coupler through it easy. Hopefully we don't have to go bigger, but I want that tube to all be one piece, and if I'm not able to get it out, then I'll make that hole bigger, but we're going to paint it for now. The next step, as you can see, I've wire wheeled all the crap off of majority of it, besides some of the hard to reach places. I'm going to get in here and start welding these holes shut. So I went through and you can kind of see here, I've marked all the holes that I'm going to weld shut. Basically, nearly everything. I'm getting rid of a majority of where the factory wiring goes. So I'm going to run my wiring, instead of snaking it around the strut tire, I'm going to run it along the frame rail. The 2 coil holes, we're going to weld those shut. So those will go away. I'm going to leave these holes for the marker light wires just because they're uniform on both sides, and you never know when we want to run like some other sensor wire out there if we need to. This crustiness from where this has been hit previously, I am not going to. You can tell the previous patch job, they puttied over this and like smoothed it with Bondo and made it look all pretty. I'm not going to make this look pretty. We're going to leave this raw just like it is, and we're going to paint it. Calvin may think differently when we get it up there, but he's going to watch the video. He'll text me. I'm going to get this welded down, get rust proofer and some paint underneath this as best I can, and get this deal fixed. But overall, it's pretty straight how they fixed it. I bet this thing got hit pretty hard. It doesn't really look like it kinked the frame rail at all, but it definitely got this, and it probably pushed it in, if I had to venture a guess, just with how this is all crumpled in here pretty bad, and this looks like they just kind of brazed and patched stuff up. But regardless, next step, I'm going to sit in here for a few hours and weld up all these holes, get rid of all these potential fire hazards into the cabin, and I'm fired up for that. That hole will go away too, because all my engine harness, every single bit of wiring harness is coming out the driver's side on this deal now. So, yeah. I'm going to get to sitting in here, fire up the old ESOP welder, and crank this stuff out. I'm also going to weld in my oil cooler brackets. So that's this bracket here and this bracket here. I was going to use these I used these sheet metal screws to hold them on, but this metal's thick, this is thick, it can get cut and re-welded. It's not like you're going to see any of this, so really the only areas that are getting painted is the bay and then the top of the crash bar here. So this body line that my finger is going under, top of that will be red, bottom of that, I'll touch that up with probably the boat paint, because that stuff that's in the back of the car has been holding up great to me crawling around all over it, and it looks good, sustainable. We can keep adding more to it, sand through it, paint over it. It looks good, so I'm happy with that. But making progress, guys, and I am fired up. I still got a good bit of red strippage to do back here, and then I gotta dig out that corner. But nightmare, never, ever, 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 ever bedline anything that you want the bedliner back off of. Potentially 0.100% chance that you might want to remove it because it sucks to take off. I really have no idea where I left off in this video, but we have accomplished what most people would say is very hard to do in 2 days whenever you have an actual real job and you just do this in the evening. So we have got the whole entire engine bay shaved, all the holes welded shut, smoothed off. The whole engine bay has been sanded with 220 and is effectively ready for epoxy primer, paint, or I guess epoxy primer, sealer, paint, clear, looking sick, fresh, matching the rest of the car. A couple little things I had to fix. There was a little bit of rust I discovered here, so we got that patched up in the frame rail. These frame rails actually have a webbing in them, so it kind of zigzags down the frame rail to add rigidity. If you drill a hole with a drill bit into the frame rail, you're probably going to break the drill bit, just so you know. But anyways, that webbing, there was some moisture got caught in there, a little bit of a mouse nest in there too. Blew all that out. Got some rust proofer down in the frame rail, which is this black stuff you see here and here, and then welded the hole shut. So not super perfect. It's not flushed off like everything else would be, because I wanted to make sure that this maintained some rigidity, so I left some overlap so I could really burn the welds in. However, ignition coil holes, shaved and deleted. All the holes we don't need, shaved and deleted, rust proofer, done. So what you see here in bare metal silver is actually what is going to be red to match the car, the same color, base clear, real deal, real paint. I'm happy with how everything kind of shook out. So we've got my hole for my intake tube, which will be pretty sweet. So effectively this tube here will come off the turbo and protrude through that hole down into the inner fender, kind of in front of it. There will be a 90-degree bend on this, and my air filter will live down here in front of, or I guess behind the valence, but in front of the tire. Reason being, we don't want to be sucking any hot air. Sucking hot air is terrible, and it gives me a little bit more clearance to run this intercooler pipe through here. So that's that new bit. And since y'all have watched what would otherwise be a seemingly boring video, we'll just show you a bunch of the new stuff that I got for the car. So I ordered seats, pretty fired up, just came in today. These are nothing off the wall special, but a really good seat nonetheless. So Race Quip fiberglass FIA certified seats. These are 15-inch wide. Not fired up for 15 inches because I'm a skinny dude and I fit loose in here. You know, not quite like hot dog down a hallway loose, but loose. I'm not tight, so I'm going to have to get some towels or something to drive my own car. But I wanted to steer away from, I had ran steel frame seats in both the rally cars before because that's what I could afford at the time. Now I can afford a little bit nicer of a seat, so I went with the fiberglass. And honestly, the seat's way more comfortable than a steel frame seat. It's way lighter. You can just pick this thing up with like one hand and throw it around, you know, versus that you kind of need two hands, or you need to be, you know, like the Rock. But super fired up with the black. We've got red cam lock harnesses, 5-point harnesses. Guys, you're on a 4-point harness, you're going to slide out your seat, catch a steering wheel in the nuts. Rather catch a harness belt. I'd rather catch a harness belt in the nuts. So that's going to keep me, super skinny dude, in my narrow seat. And then some of you caught it. The Patreon members got to see these when I got them. But I'm just going to show them to you now because I definitely showed them in the background of the video. These are the new wheels for the RADX7. And I am amped for these wheels, okay? These are not what you think. They're not Panasports, which is the typical kind of like JDM or Watanabe JDM style of this. And I don't really know who did it first, but when I first saw these wheels, I didn't necessarily see them as import car style wheels. I saw these on, you know, European rally cars. And then also these were big on Trans Am muscle cars. So that's what these are. These are Trans Am Race Engineering Superlights. Trans Am Race Engineering is based out of Australia. These are 15 by 80, 5 by 114, which is exactly what we need for this. The only thing that's going to get a little bit tricky about fitting these wheels, and we're going to mount the 225 Falcon RT660s on these things, so that should fill this wheel out pretty well. If anything, be just a tad bit narrow for an 8-inch, but it's about right. Hopefully, it doesn't poke too terribly in the back. Don't worry. I knew that that's how this was going to fit when I ordered them. The front fits perfect and clears my springs. As you can see here, I had to jack the spring way up just to fit these BBSs, which are great wheels. These are BBS vert wheels. They're great wheels for first gens. They look awesome, but every other first gen that we have these wheels on has an FC front knuckle. This car has FB front struts, so just the offset not right. But I cannot wait to get this up in there. It is just the look. Panasport, super light, you name it, mini lights, whatever you want to call them. That wheel, this car, this red, this livery is just going to be the jam. So super fired up for that. We got a lot of work to do this weekend. Not really, but get this engine bay painted. I did all the hard work. Calvin's pretty stoked that it's all prepped. We don't have to really do anything crazy. So just wipe it down. Hopefully it doesn't rain on us because I am going to be hauling this thing home without any sort of coating on this. As there's a little bit of chance of rain tonight, tomorrow night when I leave. And hopefully it doesn't get too wet and flash rust. So anyways, that's that. We got 1 month till deal's gap, literally, basically, exactly that. And I still have to build a whole giant car. So wish me luck, and that's going to be the end of the video. This is one of those videos where between the cutscenes of me talking was approximately 6.5 hours each time of me in here getting completely filthy, scraping, wire wheeling, scrubbing, welding, grinding, fixing, doing the whole engine bay. And yeah, I'm fired up. I'm fired up that it's done. This is the last major hurdle for this car. And then fired up to get the interior back together, get the wiring all de-loomed, re-loomed, and stripped, and then now that we've deleted the mice nest out of it, which you saw, and I'm just going to quit talking because it's late and I should go to bed. So with that, good night, keep it rad, we'll see you in the next one. Come check out the car at Deals Gap if you want to learn more and see stuff a little bit behind the scenes, what's going on here, or learn about rotary engines. You got specific rotary engine questions about your specific car and your specific exact thing that I haven't made a specific video about, go check out the Patreon because I will make you that specific video. If you just want to support the channel, go check out the Patreon. And if you enjoyed or want to learn about these rotary engines and see this thing rip and destroy everything on the track, ideally, subscribe. So with that, keep it rad. We'll see you in the next one. Peace. We'll find this dog. Come here, laddie. Come here. Oh yeah, limbo dog. Hey, are these wheels not the sickest wheels you could ever put on a first gen? Come on. Yeah. Is this thing gonna look super sick? Oh, you didn't even have to know the question. You ready to see the most beautiful engine bay that we've ever done? Hey, come here. You gotta jump. Okay, I'm going to interpret the answer to that question, which she said this isn't the most beautiful engine bay we're going to do, as we're going to do better ones in the future. Peace, guys.